माननीय अयोध्या रामी रेड्डी जी।
Sir, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on the Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 2021. Positives of this bill. The Act prescribes imprisonment terms and fines for violating the provisions of the Act. The bill increases these fines from up to 25,000 to up to 1 lakh rupees for a general violation and 10,000 rupees to 25,000 for a specially protected animals. Such a provision is a good step towards reducing incidences of poaching, cruelty towards animals or any other related violations. Implementation of CITES. This bill aims to implement the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, an international agreement that regulates the international trade of wild animals and plants in order to prevent any threat to their extinction of the species. The bill will provide for the designation of a management authority which grants export or import permits for trade of specimens, and specific authority and scientific authority which gives advice on aspects related to impact on the survival of the specimens being traded, thus bringing us under a global agreement and is therefore a welcome provision. So problems need to be addressed in this bill. The issue of vermin. In the Wildlife Protection Amendment Bill 21, any species falling under Schedule 2 may be declared as vermin. The bill also does not define the word vermin, thereby empowering the central government to directly declare any species as vermin. The particular species will not be covered under the Wildlife Protection Act and can be hunted or culled without restriction and once declared vermin. This specific change is projected to impact 41 species of mammals, 864 birds, 17 reptiles and amphibians, and 58 insects, as they may be declared vermin and will be subject to hunting and killing. Thus, a more scientific approach should be taken in declaring an animal as vermin. Human-wildlife conflict is another issue that needs to be addressed. This issue of vermin is a part of bigger problem of human-wildlife conflict. Several states have reported crop loss, incidents of crop raiding, and other incidents of crop damage due to animals. However, if the central government starts declaring a lot of these animals as vermin, they would be up for indiscriminate killing. The act of killing could result in severe ecological imbalance and impact the food chain in the region. Thus, a more specific approach has to be taken up in declaration of any species as vermin, and also the human-wildlife conflicts have to be addressed in a better way. So, human-wildlife conflicts are also increasing due to habitat destruction and encroachment and the developmental works, industrialization and agricultural expansion, which leads to reduced forest cover and reduced land for wild animals. Therefore, these issues have to be addressed. In this regard, Andhra Pradesh has taken several steps involving the local community from different areas to help in reducing the animal-human conflict and ensuring protection of their wild habitat. Elephant trade is one of the issues that is effectively addressed in the state. While 43 of the Principal Act clearly provides for a ban on any sale or transfer of captive animals in their ownership, the proposed amendment bill will introduce an exemption clause to Section 43 in the case of transport of ownership of the live elephants. This exception has the potential of encouraging commercial trade of elephants, which may lead to elephants being subject to captivity and brutality. Therefore, the earlier ban should be upheld even in the case of elephants, and additional mechanism may be introduced for acquiring elephants for religious institutions. Missing species. The species listed in all the 3 schedules of the bill is incomplete, as has been pointed out by several wildlife organizations, as well as the report submitted by the Parliamentary Standing Committee on the bill. And so, there is a need for a greater inclusion of scientists, botanists, biologists, and others in the process of listing all the existing species of wildlife. Elimination of State Board for Wildlife. As per the existing Act, there exists a state board for wildlife headed by the Chief Minister as the chairperson and the Minister in charge of forest and wildlife as the vice chairperson. The proposed amendment bill renders the state board to defunct and instead provides for establishing of a standing committee of the board for wildlife, which is to be headed by the vice chairperson, that is the forest minister, and not more than 10 members to be nominated by the forest minister. Therefore, it decreases the state's involvement and ability to make decisions in matters of wildlife. Andhra Pradesh wildlife conservation efforts are worth mentioning, sir. I would like to state that this opportunity to highlight some of the successful endeavors undertaken by the Andhra government toward wildlife conservation. Tiger numbers are on the rise. The tiger numbers in the state have seen a 60% rise from 47 in the year 2018 to 75 in 2022. With 64 in Nagarjuna Sagar Srisalem Tiger Reserve, 9 in Seshachalam Corridor and 2 in Papikondalu, through a process of taking censuses with a more scientific method of employing drones and cameras. We are also proud to have the country's largest tiger reserve, NSTR, in Andhra Pradesh, spread over 3,727 square kilometers. The first time the black buck survey has been conducted by the Andhra Pradesh State Wildlife Department, started the first ever survey of black bucks along a stretch of islands between the Godavari and Dhavaleswaram and Yanam, with the goal of drawing up a conservation plan to protect the endangered species. Nodal officers are being deployed, especially in places like Vijayawada, Vizag, to prevent cases pertaining to cruelty against animals. The district police have appointed a circle inspector as the nodal officer to protect animals. People may contact the officer to register complaints pertaining to cruelty against the animals or cases of smuggling. There is also an ongoing plan for upgradation of infrastructure in Indira Gandhi Zoological Park in Visakhapatnam. The state has also been focusing on rescuing the king cobras in North Coastal Andhra Pradesh with King Cobra Conservation Program, rescuing a good number of cobras in the past 3 years to minimizing man-animal conflict across the state. The Forest Department has been working on several areas to address wildlife conservation and would appreciate the assistance of the central government in scaling up these efforts. While inclusion of sites is a welcome step, it is more focused on regulation of trade of wildlife rather than its conservation. Protection of wildlife has to be seen along with protection of their wild habitat, and therefore we need to see the bill in accordance with the Forest Conservation Act and the Environment Protection Act. With these suggestions, we on behalf of YSR Congress Party support the bill. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Professor Manoj